Hello students, today we're going to continue our lesson on angle relationships. Today I'm going to teach you about complementary and supplementary angles. In this concepts, you're still going to be able to use your equations and inequalities. So let's go ahead and get started. Two angles are complementary if the sum of their measures is 90 degrees. So if you look at this model right here, this angle, this little square here means that this angle right here, let's call that angle A. Angle A equals 90 degrees. So this whole thing is 90 degrees. So if we have two angles, let's take a look at its symbols here. The measure of angle 1, which is this one right here, that's angle 1, plus the measure of angle 2, this one right here, all that has to equal 90 degrees. So here you have yourself an equation already. So this angle plus the measure of this angle has to equal 90 degrees. Now let's take a look at supplementary angles. Two angles are supplementary if the sum of their measures is 180 degrees. Alright, so now 180, you know that a straight line is always 180 degrees. And we call that a straight angle. A straight angle because it forms a straight line. So a straight angle equals 180 degrees. So this one, what we're talking about here, is this line because it has a vertex right here and it's opened all the way. It's open all the way this way and open all the way that way. You can see that from here all the way around to here, that's going to equal 180 degrees. So now let's take a look at here. Two angles are supplementary if the sum of their measures is 180 degrees. So then it says here that this angle, the measure of angle 3, over here, the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4 has to equal 180 degrees. So it makes sense in the picture here. This angle plus this angle makes a straight line. Therefore, it should equal 180 degrees. Okay? So that's one way to remember this, guys. Because I know that there's always confusion as to which is which, right? So if you see complementary, it looks like it has one P. So that's only 90 degrees. And if you look at supplementary, it looks like it has two P's. So that should be double 90 degrees, which is 180 degrees. So that's just one little thing, hint on how to remember which is which. Complementary, two angles that add up to 90 degrees. Supplementary, two angles that add up to 180 degrees. And this will be a good visual so you can remember it better. So let's go ahead and see how that's going to help us in the next problems that we're going to do. A special relationship exists between two angles with a sum of 90. That will be complementary. A special relationship also exists between two angles with a sum of 180. So I guess you could say there complementary, so you can start remembering. This is supplementary. Examples. Identify each pair of angles as complementary, supplementary, or neither. So you can have complementary and supplementary or nothing at all. So let's take a look at this situation here. Remember what adjacent means? As shown in example 2, angles that do not need to be adjacent need to be complementary or supplementary. Okay? They do not need to be adjacent or to be complementary or supplementary. So they don't have to be adjacent. As long as you have anything else as long as you have two angles that add up to 180, you got yourself complementary angles. To 90 degrees. And then you got any two angles that will add up to 180 degrees will be supplementary. Remember this? So this is another way so you can start getting used to which is which. Complementary, 90 degrees. Supplementary, well, two angles that add up to 180 degrees. So let's take a look at the situation. They tell you here, angle 1 and angle 2 form a straight line. So that means that this is a straight line, and you already know that a straight angle here, a straight line, measures 180 degrees. So if you take a look at the situation here, from here to here, everything has to equal 180 degrees. Therefore, angle 1 plus angle 2 plus the measure of angle 2 has to equal 180 degrees. That makes them supplementary. So there's another way. Let me put my M here. Okay, so simple enough. Let's try example number 2. I got an angle here that measures 60 degrees and another angle that measures here 30 degrees. If I was to add them up, 60 plus 30 equals 90. Therefore, you can say that these two angles, even though they're not touching and they're separated, they still add up two angles that add up to 90 degrees. Therefore, that makes them complementary. So simple enough. That should give you enough to do the got it problems right there to see if you really kind of understand this. Let's go ahead and go to the next page. Now let's get into more problem solving where you can actually use what you're learning here. Determine a missing measurement. You can use angle relationships to write and solve in equations in order to determine a missing measure. So there it is again, write and solve an equation. And you've seen this before already. So we're just going to continue with that. Example number 3. Write and solve an equation to determine the value of x. So here we go again. If you analyze this, okay, there's 4 ways of analyzing. I can say that this angle is angle B, or I can say that this angle is angle DBA or ABD. Since I could also say, let's call it 1, angle 1. Well, I know that this angle, since it has this little box here, that it's a right angle, and right angles measure 90 degrees. Therefore, if you add this angle plus this angle, that should equal 90 degrees, and that makes them complementary. So let's see how this works. Let's take a look at here. Stop and reflect. Circle, true or false? The sum of two angles that are supplementary is 180 degrees. Well, let's see. I remember there's two P's, 180. So yeah, that's true. Let's continue down. The sum of the measures of angle ABC and angle CBD is 90 degrees. Variable. Let 2x represent the measure of angle CBD. So let's go back here. 2x, angle DBC. DBC. This guy right here. All right? Represent CBD. Now, equation 28 plus 2x has to equal 90 degrees because they are complementary. So let's see how that works. If you set up the equation, you got 28 plus 2x is equal to 90 degrees. And that should look very familiar. So we subtract 28 because it's farther away from the 2x from both sides. This cancels, bring down the 2x, and then you end up with a brand new equation. So 90 minus 28, that brings you down to 62. So divide by 2 on both sides, bring down your x, bring down your equal sign, and then 62 divided by 2 is 31. Therefore, x has to equal 31 in this situation here, because 2 times 31, 31 times 2, that gives you 62. If you add that to 28, that puts you back at 90 degrees. Therefore, you can agree or you just prove that these two angles add up to 90 degrees. Therefore, it makes them complementary. Let's take a look at example number 4. So in this case, the value of x was 31. Number 4, the angles shown are supplementary. So automatically, it should ring a bell that it's going to be two angles that are going to add up to 180 degrees. Write and solve an equation to determine the value of x. So I got two angles here, even though they're separated. This angle plus this angle form basically a straight line. So that means that from here to here, the whole thing has to equal 180 degrees. So let's see. So we got the 23 plus the 3x, all that has to equal 180 degrees. And this is how we come up with our equation. 130 degrees plus 3x is equal to 180 degrees. And now it should look very familiar. So 3 is being multiplied by x. That means that we have to get rid of the 123. So you subtract 123 from both sides. This cancels. You bring down your 3x. Here it is. Bring down your equal sign. So then 180 minus 123 is equal to 57. And here is your one-step equation. They're not going away. So now we see that x is being multiplied by 3. So we do the opposite. Divide by 3. This cancel. We do it to both sides. 57 divided by 3 happens to be 19. So therefore, in this situation here, this x has to equal 19. So that when you multiply it by 3 and then you add it to 123, the whole thing is going to equal to 180. Let's go ahead and check that. So I take my 3x plus I have to add it to 123, and all that has to equal 180 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to substitute 19 for x. 3 times 19 plus 123 equals 180 degrees. All right, so 3 times 19, let's go ahead and do it on the side. 27, we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 57 degrees. So then all this becomes 57 plus 123. Let's hope that we did everything correctly and that that is true. Let's do it down here. 123 plus 57, 7 plus 3 is 10, 5, 6, 7, 8, and bring down your 1, 180. So yes, all this 180 is equal to 180, and that is a true statement. So we know that the value of x here has to be 19, so that all this equals 180 degrees. Okay, so it's very, very simple information. Complementary and supplementary angles. Mainly you need to remember which one is which. All right, so I gave you a couple of hints, and keep writing it down automatically wherever you see anything that adds up to 90, two angles that add up to 90, that will be complementary. And two angles that add up to 180 degrees, those will be supplementary. So that should be enough information here so for you to get the got it problem here. So it's pretty simple. We'll see you on the next video. Bye.